Part 44. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 433. Tu Xiao started preparing early in the morning, and Guan Yunbiao didn't have time to rest during the only 2 days of vacation. He followed Tu Xiao to celebrate the New Year yesterday and came over to help this morning. It seems that the only men in the circle who enter the kitchen are Han Qian and Tu Xiao. Han Qian is there because of warmth. Tu Xiao is too pampered towards his daughter. Nuan took the initiative to greet Tu Xiao while carrying the gift, which surprised Han Qian. He touched Nuan's forehead in front of everyone and whispered, "What? The sun came out in the west today? And you even took the initiative to say hello to people." Nuan handed the gift to Guan Degu, raised his hand and slapped Han Qian's paw off, saying angrily, "Boss Tu and I are very familiar with each other, get out of here." After saying this, he took out 2 small red envelopes and handed them to Tu Kun and Li Jiai. He bent down and touched Tu Kun's head and said with a smile, "Happy New Year. Little ant, when will I be able to grow as tall as you? Don't think about it. Just be taller than Yan Hu. Wen Juiying, can you speak? Yan Hu, don't listen. When did Yan Qingqing come? Or maybe she was hiding somewhere." If she hadn't spoken, Han Qian wouldn't have noticed she was here. Logically speaking, that shouldn't be the case. The color of her hair should be very eye-catching, right? Han Qian really didn't know what Yan Qingqing was thinking. Is this silver white hair really suitable for where she is sitting now? Then Han Qian thought of Gao Jingcheng, that guy was also very coquettish. After sitting down, Han Qian really had no appetite. He just wanted to eat something light, such as sorghum rice and water with a salted duck egg. When he was a child, he really liked the food that was contradictory to him. When Nuan and Yan Qingqing sat next to each other at the dinner table, I don't know what the 2 girls were talking about when they were together. Little Tu Kun listened with great interest, and Han Qian was afraid that he would ruin his child. While chatting, Yan Qingqing spoke. "Han Qian, are you going to close Changjiang's shopping mall? Are you serious about it?" Han Qian shrugged, then nodded slightly. Seeing this, Yan Qingqing looked embarrassed and asked weakly, "You won't let Glory close down too, will you?" Han Qian frowned, shook his head, and said softly, "No, I will find another way to get revenge on Lushenga. His threat to me will not pass easily. If Lin Mend and that Luo Shen weren't showing off their power in front of me, I wouldn't want to touch Changxiang." Han Qian told Tu Xiao what happened in the mountains. Before Tu Xiao could speak, Han Qian said again, "Boss Tu, please eat first. It's almost time. I have to go find Cheng Jin to take care of things. It's already the 2nd year of junior high school and the mall is about to open. We can't delay it any longer." After leaving Tu Xiao's side, Han Qian went out and called Cai Qinghu. Not long after, the secretary drove over in a Ferrari. After Han Qian got in the car, Cai Qinghu started nagging. "You can just drive that Maserati. Why do you have to ask me to come and pick you up?" After saying this, he threw a pack of cigarettes to Han Qian, lit the cigarette, and Han Qian said softly, "I don't like driving. The Panamera at home is gathering dust. Just drive it, baby, okay?" Squeak. The Ferrari stopped suddenly on the side of the road. Cai Qinghu looked at Han Qian with a different look on his face, stretched out his hand to pinch Han Qian's face, and Han Qian grinned and shouted, "What are you doing? It hurts." Cai Qinghu said doubtfully, "It hurts? That means you woke up and are sick? What did you call me just now? Baby? Han Qian, are you sick? Why don't you go to the Yamenkao first and go to the hospital? Is there something wrong with your head?" I was stunned by the warmth. Han Qian was amused and smiled bitterly. What? Can't I be sweeter to you? Cai Kinghu replied decisively. No. With your personality, it is absolutely impossible to call me baby from the bottom of your heart. You may call me Nu on that way, but it will definitely not be me. You must have been a little impatient just now. Being guessed clearly, Han Qian felt a little embarrassed and whispered that he was not impatient. Cai Kinghu didn't care too much about this matter with Han Qian. He drove to the Yamen and arrived at the main entrance of the Yamen. When he arrived at the main entrance, Han Qian remembered that there was also a holiday at the Yamen in the second grade of junior high school. He called Cheng Jin and found out that the old man had made a reservation. Location: being able to book a seat in a hotel on the second day of the Lunar New Year can only be done at the Yamenkao. Han Qian and Cai Kinghu arrived at the hotel. When they walked into the box, besides Cheng Jin and Chang De, there was another person inside who surprised Han Qian. Niu Qiudong is also there. This surprised Han Qian. Lao Niu had some things he couldn't say to Cheng Jin here. Taking Cai Kinghu's hand, he forced himself to speak. Secretary Niu, Mayor Cheng, Permanent Secretary. Niu Qiudong nodded and laughed softly. We are all acquaintances, sit down quickly. Yes, yes, yes. Han Qian looked a little humble. Seeing this, Cheng Jin laughed and cursed. Why are you acting like an ugly daughter-in-law meeting your parents-in-law? I don't know anything about your temperament. Stop pretending. I came here today just to talk and chat with you, and to find out about Lin Zongheng and Lu Shenge's hospitalization. Matter. Han Qian groaned, picked up his chopsticks, looked at the food on the table, and whispered. It's a bit too plain. I'm still young and I need to grow taller. Cheng Jin looked at the dishes on the table, leaned close to Niu Qiudong and whispered softly. This is indeed a little too plain. Niu Qiudong frowned. Vegetarian? Stir-fried leeks with eggs, and this fairy chicken. Is this still vegetarian? Lao Cheng, where did we eat such good things when we were children? When we were in school, which iron lunchbox brought some broken seed porridge, and if possible, a piece of pickles? No. Why don't we just put some salt in it? I don't think anyone is in poor health. Cheng Jin sighed helplessly and said sadly. Just dunk it? Han Qian said immediately. Secretary Niu, these eggs are not considered meat, and this chicken has not been considered meat since the Tang dynasty. Niu Qiudong curled his lips and countered. Fart, that's because the Tang dynasty regarded fat meat as meat. Chicken without oil is not called meat. You know what a fart it is. Han Qian sneered and said sarcastically. Just because you don't eat well, the average height of men your age is about 1.75 meters. If you look at the children today, who is not over 1.8 meters? The quality of food is very important to children. Niu Qiudong stood up and said angrily. That's because ripening agents are added to today's junk food. When I find out about them, no one will have a better time. Eat it to your heart's content, and then tell me about Lin Zongheng and Lu Shenge. It's too vegetarian. I won't eat it, and I won't tell you. Waiter, scramble him an egg. Han Qian looked at Niu Qiudong with bared teeth and said angrily. As a secretary, can you be more generous and give me some pig's trotters to supplement Kinghu's collagen? Niu Qiudong's face was full of pain. The pig's trotters came. Han Qian took a piece for Cai Kinghu, then put down his chopsticks and laughed softly. What I roughly know is that Lin Zongheng and Lu Shenge rented a mountain, where someone kept some free-range game. They went in to hunt, and the two had a conflict over the game. Later, they were both injured and hospitalized. They didn't go there. Su, your Yamenmen have no way to intervene. Feng Lun is not here as you imagined. Why are you so concerned? After hearing this, Niu Qiudong's face softened a bit and he whispered. The industries under the names of Lin Zongheng and Lu Shenge are the leaders in the city. They support tens of thousands of citizens in the city. I don't want to see citizens lose their jobs because of their fight. Han Qian, do you understand what I mean? Han Qian frowned and said coldly. Secretary Niu, there seems to be something wrong with what you said. I did not instigate the fight between them, nor can I suppress it. Although Changxiang is half managed by Nuan, and I divorced. In glory I'm just a white-collar worker, and I don't have that much ability. Niu Qiudong shook his head lightly and replied softly. What I mean is that I don't want you to kill them. I know that you have 100 ways to kill them, and you can't find any evidence at our yamen door. I came here today to discuss it with you. For the sake of the city people, don't cause trouble and kill people. Secretary Niu is serious. I, Han Qian, am just an ordinary person from the countryside. Lin Zongheng and Lu Shenga are both rich men worth over 100 million yuan. They are existences that are beyond my reach. I have no ability to touch them. Right? What's more, I don't dare to kill anyone. There was something wrong with the atmosphere at the dinner table, so Chang Jin quickly opened his mouth to smooth things over. Han Qian. Secretary Niu also has good intentions. Why are you so ignorant? You have a rather impulsive personality. If you do something outrageous, I, Secretary Niu, will have a headache and feel sorry for you. Oh. With an expressionless expression, Chang Jin sighed and whispered that the boy's bad temper had come back again. Niu Qiudong also sighed, and the atmosphere at the dinner table was a little stiff. At this time, Chang Jin spoke again. Xiaohuo, what did the province say? Chang Jin changed direction. Cai Qinghu picked up a tissue and wiped his mouth, sat up straight and whispered softly. The province means to meet with Han Qian, whether it is to make a deal or to have a relationship. They want to get all the city's news from Han Qian's mouth. The main target is corrupt officials. If there are many people involved, if the amount of risk involved is huge, it will be on TV, and it will be a credit to everyone at that time, and now someone in the province is thinking about this credit. Then everyone's eyes fell on Han Qian. Han Qian, who was debating whether to eat garlic sprouts, was stunned, raised his head and tilted his head. Huh? Why are you looking at me? Niu Qiudong chuckled. Han Qian, just order whatever you want to eat. We are all one family, so there is no need to be polite. Just don't waste it. Han Qian frowned and replied. Are you afraid that if I come into contact with people from the province and things come out later, you too will be implicated? Niu Qiudong didn't want to admit it, but Chang Jin nodded generously. After seeing this, Han Qian leaned back on his chair and laughed softly. It's not impossible not to meet them, but I'm in a bit of trouble now, but it can't really be called trouble. I'm bragging. Can you guys help me? Then I'll send you Lantern Festival on the 15th day of the first lunar month. Chang Jin frowned and whispered. Are you bragging? Little bastard, if you want to say that you are bragging, I really don't dare to listen to this matter. The Lantern Festival matter is not urgent. Please tell me what you want to do first. Han Qian chuckled softly. Let all shopping malls in Changxiang be closed for a month. Whether it's fire protection or sanitation, you can find the reason. I will deliver the Lantern Festival. Are you having a conflict with Wen Nuan? You can't be so cruel, right? Chang Jin's face was full of doubts, and Han Qian frowned and replied. We don't have any conflicts. I went to the hospital to see Lin Zongheng. His father and his fiancée didn't talk to each other. This guy even spent money to buy my legs before. I'll settle this account with him first. What do I want, old Cheng? You know my personality. If someone treats me well, I will repay him $10,000. I don't take it to heart when they get into small fights. They keep saying that I have no temper. There is another layer of meaning in this sentence that tells Cheng Jin and Niu Qiudong that if you two are good to me, I will be good to you too. If you two are not good to me, then we will not play together. In addition, sanitation and fire protection are both important. There is no clearly defined scope. As long as it is unqualified, it is unqualified. Cheng Jin did not agree in a hurry, but turned to look at Niu Qiudong, who also had a bit of hesitation on his face. Han Qian said again after seeing this. I knew about the people from the province coming before the Chinese New Year. I haven't agreed because I am close to Lao Cheng. I don't want to make it difficult for Lao Cheng because of interests or other things. As long as I ignore the people from the province, you will have enough time to clean up the corrupt officials in the city. Even if they find out in the end, you have also cleaned up the garbage, can they go to the garbage dump to find it? Niu Qiudong replied in a deep voice. Han Qian, you have to know how many people will lose their income for a month if Changxiang is closed for a month. Complaints are everywhere. I also went to Changxiang's senior management to complain, but I couldn't find you leaders who are committed to the safety of citizens. You definitely don't do it just to brag, right? I also want Nuanuan to take the initiative in Changxiang, so that the future cooperation between Yamanmen and Changxiang will be more pleasant. After hearing this, Niu Qiudong lowered his head and asked in a deep voice. Is it really just that I didn't give you a good look? Han Qian smiled to himself. Definitely not. Lin Zongheng thought about killing me. At this point, there is no need to continue the conversation. Han Qian's attitude shows that he wants to enjoy the mall being closed for a month. If you agree, everything will be easy to talk about. If you don't agree, just wait to be investigated by the province. Even if Niu Qiudong and Cheng Jin are honest officials, they will be implicated. There are so many corrupt officials within their jurisdiction, but they are incompetent, and they know the consequences. Niu Qiudong was no longer interested in eating, so he got up and left the box first. Chang De chased after him and drove the old man back. Han Qian, Cai Qinghu, and Cheng Jin were the only three people left in the box. Cheng Jin motioned to Cai Qinghu to close the door, and then whispered. Han Qian, tell me the truth, what's going on between Lin Zongheng and you? Han Qian closed his eyes and sighed, put down the momentum he had just exerted, lowered his head and sighed. The two of them threatened me to go into the mountain. Lu Shenge wanted to use me in the mountain, but Lin Zongheng was killed. Lin Zongheng shot me, but missed me in the darkness. In the subsequent fight, he and Lu Shenge exchanged swords. I was stabbed with 2 injections of anesthetic by Lin Zongheng, and I almost froze to death in the mountains, Lao Cheng. I didn't hide anything from you, just like I am telling you now, I don't have many handles in my hand. Digging in Lun's hands. Cheng Jin lit a cigarette and asked in a deep voice. Real gun. About 7 centimeters of bullets and rifles, but don't expect to find them. With their identities, it is too easy to hide a gun. There will be many people to blame. Lu Shenge returned to the capital because he was worried that Lin Zongheng would kill him. Got him. Cheng Jin nodded and said. Lu Shenge, you must be careful, Han Qian. Everyone wants you to die, because the city will be quiet only if you die, but I, Cheng Jin, am the one who wants you to live the most. Don't ask for the reason. I know who treats me well and who takes advantage of me. I already know that Lu Shenge paid for the murder of Qian Huan. There is another thing I am suspicious of. Go De Peo has nothing to do with Lin Zongheng. I guess there are only 2 people who hired the cannon. Who? Wei Tiancheng and Lin Mend. At the end of the meal, Cai Qinghu was the one who paid the bill. When Cheng Jin got in the car, he told Han Qian that tomorrow he would ask the fire and sanitation leaders to talk about the delay in opening, and persuaded Han Qian not to be in the same class as Niu Qiudong. He was poor. Scared. Han Qian stood outside the car and nodded, then suddenly asked a question. Has Feng's Haida's death been found out? I doubt. Don't interfere in this matter anymore, Han Qian. I've checked some but can't go any further. After saying this, Han Qian exclaimed with a casual look on his face. You doubt? Shut up. Good. Cheng Jin's car disappeared into the darkness, and Han Qian stood there with confused eyes and whispered softly. It can't be him, right? Cai King Hu stood aside and said doubtfully. Who? It's okay. Let's go and meet Guan Yun Biao for a drink. I haven't drank much in more than 2 months. In the courtyard of the capital, Lu Shenga was helped out of the door by the female assistant who was slapped by the old man. Lu Shenga's mother looked at her son with distress. The knife injured her eldest son's internal organs. If it hadn't been for winter, Lu Shenga would have died in the mountains. Lu Shenguo, who looked almost the same as Li Shenga, but had an extra pair of glasses, turned around and looked at his brother with a frown, wondering. Can you get out of bed? Lu Shenga looked gloomy and said coldly. You don't need to care. Lu Shenguo said immediately. I don't care about you, I care about Mom. I don't want Mom to be sad because of you. If you can't handle the city's affairs, you come back to take over the business in the capital, and I'll just go. Han Qian and Lin Zongheng, right? Hey, brother, are you asking me to be a lost dog? This is already the 2nd time. You shouldn't mind doing it the 3rd time. You have already destroyed a proud person. I think you should give me a chance. Don't think about it. My prey is mine. As for you, just take over the family business with peace of mind. Remember to get married early and leave a child for your parents. After talking to this point, the mother of the singing and dancing brothers bowed her head, tears falling down. Lu Shenga frowned and looked at her mother. Mom, please stop crying. You have been crying since I came home. Lu Shenga, don't be so tough on Mom. Why am I so good with Mom? Xiao Wu, are you questioning your brother? I'm still saying the same thing. If you can't do it, go adopt a child as soon as possible, or find out which of the girls you slept with as a prodigal has left a seed for you. I will take over your glory. While playing in the mud, children, don't get involved in adults' affairs. Mom. Look, he scolded me again. The conversation between the two brothers can be said to be tactful, but it also reveals the relationship between them. The two brothers Lu Shenga and Lu Shenguo were not interested in any of the family property. Lu Shenga went to establish glory because he wanted to leave the family business to his younger brother, while Lu Shenguo fled abroad because he did not want to take over the family business. At this time, the two of them had similar thoughts. Li Shenguo also wanted to meet Han Qian and Lin Zongheng. The most important thing was that Han Qian had an idea to meet the girl named Tan Jiao. Lu Shenga's mother held his hand and said softly. Don't be too nagging next time. If you meet someone who annoys you, just kill them. Lu Shenga smiled, and then Lu Shenguo spoke. Dage, do you know a girl named Tan Jiao? She is a teacher. Lu Shenga exclaimed. Who? Nursery rhymes. Don't you humming tell me that you have a crush on this girl. Huh? Do you know him? I don't know you, just be happy. Dage, have you changed your assistant? Where's Sister Yeji? He was instigated by Han Qian to rebel. Pretty. What's wrong with you? Xiao Wu, let me tell you, even if you don't want to take over the family business, don't bother Lin Zongheng and Han Qian. They are not as simple as you think, especially Han Qian. Oh. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 434. Familiar plastic sheds, familiar people meeting familiar people. Guan Yun Biao and Han Qian brought several girls and children here to eat barbecue. They met Ji Jing and Yang Lan, who brought 2 little guys to eat. In Ji Jing's words, Chinese delicacies are often hidden in the chuck alleys. There is an atmosphere in a big hotel. The boss and his wife immediately put the table together. Guandego seemed a little cautious and buttoned up the collar, for fear of frightening Xiao Baibei, but Xiao Baibei was not afraid of him at all and shouted sweetly. "Uncle!" Han Qian met Yang Lan by accident. He joked softly and said that Sister Yang was much more beautiful. Yang Lan took a sip and raised the glass to test Han Qian's drinking capacity. Can he drink with Yang Lan at this dinner table? Han Qian can't do it, and Guandegu can't do it either. The only poetry that can withstand a little bit is not there yet. Han Qian raised his hands in surrender, but did not dare to drink with Yang Lan. Xiao Yang Jia was complaining on the side, begging Yan Qingqing to hurry up and announce that she was going to work. It was impossible to live at home, and Yang Lan was taking care of Xiao Baibei. Guan Yunbiao put the cooked meat to his mouth and blew it to cool down, then put it on Xiao Baibei's plate. Yang Lan glanced at it, and Guandegu quickly took the meat away, which made Yang Lan a little embarrassed and said awkwardly. I didn't mean that, I was worried that this child would. Before he finished speaking, Han Qian continued. Brother Guan, please be careful with this little one. I fed her too much last time, so waving her hand would give me a slap in the face. Guan Yunbiao looked at the well-behaved Xiao Baibei. Xiao Baibei smiled sweetly at Guan Yunbiao and raised his cup to toast him. Guan Yunbiao said with a smile. It doesn't look like it. Xiao Yangjia on the side curled her lips after hearing this. Don't look at her appearance. When she's angry, she can give you a heart attack. But look at her appearance. Do you think Qianer looks like a good person? It doesn't look like it. Everyone spoke in unison. Han Qian jumped up in anger and asked angrily why he didn't look like a good person. Cai Qinghe curled his lips and said. If nothing goes wrong, the Changxiang shopping mall will be closed for business tomorrow. How many people will scold you behind your back? How can you be considered a good person? Han Qian hurriedly took a seat, looked at Cai Qinghe and said softly. Do you think Cheng Jin and Niu Qiudong will agree? They don't dare not agree. Eat well. After half a night of excitement, everyone dragged their exhausted bodies home to rest. After returning home, Han Qian lay down and went to sleep. When Nuan took a bath and was ready to come over to play with Han Qian, he was already asleep. Early the next morning, Nuan received a call from Yushasai. Mr. Wen, something happened. In the morning, many leaders came to the city government office. After inspecting the company, they went to the shopping mall. In the end, many shopping malls in the city were assessed as failing to meet fire protection standards and posing safety hazards. Restaurants in the shopping malls were ordered open flames are not allowed and this needs to be corrected. Nuan pushed open Han Qian's door and looked at Han Qian, who was huddled in the corner and sleeping soundly, and sighed softly. I understand. You and Li Yang should convey this matter. People in our camp don't need to pay attention to it. It was Lin Zongheng and his fiancée who made the news. It's the third day of junior high school today, right? Those who entered the Liancheng group I'm going to work tomorrow, and the hospital's plans are going on as normal. Just pretend you don't know about things in the shopping mall. Anyway, I'm not the only one who's losing money. Their conversation woke up the sleeping man. Han Qian sat up and scratched his head. He glanced at Nuan confusedly and gestured at the door to her. Nuan closed the door and went downstairs. Han Qian lay down and continued to sleep. Han Qian could stay awake for 2 days and 2 nights, and he could also sleep for 1 day and 1 night at a stretch. The closure of the Changxiang Mall store was not taken to Han Qian's mind. There was no surprise. No one would be rich even if the store was closed for a month. It was already noon when Han Qian got up. Nuan was sitting in the living room eating instant noodles. When he saw Han Qian, he started to accuse him of all kinds of evil deeds. In front of my parents, I ate big fish and meat, running in the mountains, swimming in the water, and flying in the sky. But now, I can only live with you eating instant noodles. Han Qian scratched his head, walked to the refrigerator, took out 2 buckets of instant noodles, returned to Nuan, and said with a smile. What you eat is beef. There are also shrimp and fish noodles and chicken and mushroom stewed noodles. They are all available in the sky, on the ground, and in the water. When Nuan raised his head and glared at Han Qian with bared teeth, and let out a low growl. Han Qian quickly took a step back and opened his mouth in a panic. You're fine, don't bite. I'll bite you to death. When Nuan put down the fork in his hand and rushed towards Han Qian. He jumped up and threw Han Qian down on the sofa. He opened his mouth and bit Han Qian's face. Han Qian screamed in pain and his hands were tightly grasped by Wen Nuan. Come on, I had known that this girl was very strong, but now Han Qian was wondering if he was weak. After Wen Nuan had vented enough, she sat on Han Qinji's lap and looked at the marks on his face. Her face was filled with a smile of victory, and then she took the instant noodles and said softly. I'll feed you, open your mouth. 1 second she was as gentle as water, and the next second she was as violent as a ball of fire. Han Qian was curious about how Wen could change his personality so easily. He stretched out his hands to hold Wen's armpits, lifted the girl off his body, stood up and whispered softly. Stop making trouble, we two have to go out today, and we have to go to my second uncle's side. Nuan looked at Han Qian with instant noodles in his hand, his eyes full of pity, and he curled his lips. I'm not suggesting you go. Why don't you go? As juniors, we should go there to pay New Year's greetings. Don't eat. You won't be able to eat any more after a while. Pack up. What are you going to buy from your second uncle's place? Wine. Cigarettes. You really want to go? Don't you talk nonsense. You'll regret it. I'm going to change clothes. Seeing Nuan running up the second road, Han Qian curled his lips and whispered, isn't he just Li Jinhai? Am I afraid of him? He still owes me a favor. After Nuan finished changing his clothes, Han Qian frowned. You're going to wear this? You've been wearing this all day, right? You smell like barbecue and cigarettes. Can you please stop being so sloppy? Wen Nuan glared at Han Qian and gritted his teeth. Why are you so verbose? After saying this, Wen was picked up by Han Qian and sent back to the second floor. He threw the girl on the bed and turned around to choose clothes in the closet. Wen was not suitable for Yan Qingqing's avant-garde dress, nor Cai Qinghu's formal dress, and her figure. The appearance is suitable for casual and elegant clothes. In winter, black and white are the main colors, and it is not suitable for fancy clothes. But today Han Qian changed her style. The long denim skirt that she had never worn since she bought it was thrown out, followed by a flesh-colored woolen dress, a high-necked woolen sweater, and a pair of flat casual shoes. Then Wen Nuan put on her skirt and stuffed her wool pants into the quilt. Han Qian saw this scene. Because of the problem of wearing clothes, the two of them struggled at home for more than an hour before going out. Nuan muttered while driving the car. How can a little girl wear so much when going out? A lot of people froze to death in Russia last year because they didn't wear enough clothes, as you said. And you're already married. Who can show you when you're so beautiful in your clothes? Now you wear less clothes. When you get older, you'll get rheumatism, leg pain, and back pain. The problem is here. I don't want to carry you up and down the Kong. It's okay for you to be thin. I'll wait until you gain weight. If you're nagging me, I'll slap you. Also, I'm divorced and I'm going to start my second love. Spring fart, I'm afraid you'll freeze to death before spring comes. Stop nagging. Han Qian stopped talking. After parking the car, he went to buy 2 cigarettes and 2 bottles of wool yanjai. These things almost used up all the cash in Han Qian's hand. A year passed. Han Qian felt that his salary for most of the year was not enough, and all the bonuses were added to it. The 400,000 yuan was paid back in vain. It was useless for him to be warm, and it was all spent on the people around him. In what year will these 4 million be used? After getting into the car with the things, Wen Nuan squinted at the things in Han Qian's hands, closed his eyes and sighed. Han Qian really didn't shed tears until he saw the coffin. After driving to the new district, the husband and wife held the gift box in their hands and knocked on the door. It was Li Er who opened the door, but the young man's face was not very good looking, and he sighed at Han Qian, saying nothing. Nuan handed the thing in his hand to Li Er, stretched out the book and touched his brother's head, saying softly, "Being scolded?" Li Er nodded crazily and sighed softly. "Why did you two come here today? You are so bad at choosing the time." Wen Nuan sighed softly. "Your brother-in-law doesn't believe in evil. What can I do if he insists on coming over? What about others?" Li Er curled his lips behind him. "I'm training my dad in the study." As soon as these words came out, Han Qian, who had been listening for a long time, panicked. He was trying to teach Li Jinhai? Who the hell is this? Han Qian put down the gift and turned to leave. As soon as he opened his legs, a deep and hearty voice came from behind him. "Xiao Nuan is here? Xiao Han Qian, where are you going?" Warm and Sweet shouted. "Uncle." Hearing this title, Han Qian shuddered, turned around and said tremblingly, Big, uncle." Li Jinhan frowned, and Han Qian turned around and lamented. "Uncle, I still have work over there, so I'll go and do it first." "Work? You're working on it tomorrow. Can I call your boss? Now that you know I'm here, don't leave and go cook. I haven't seen you for a long time." Reject. That's something you don't dare to do. But was left behind by Li Jinhan, who frowned at Wen Nuan and scolded him. "You only wear this kind of stuff in winter? Aren't you afraid of freezing your legs?" He looked at his uncle with warmth and resentment and whispered. "I'm wearing woolen pants, and I was driving all the way." Han Qian got out of the car to buy things. "Uncle, can you not scold me when you see me? This is why you are not liked by the younger generation, you see. Except Li Er and I don't have any children to look after you, do we? We are both grandfathers, why are we so angry?" As soon as these words came out, Li Jinhai was furious, slapped the table and roared. "Do I need them to look at me? I'm a worthless thing, and I don't need them to like me. I just have a bad temper. If you don't like it, just ignore me. Do you think I am willing to look at them?" After finishing speaking, Li Er continued. "Then you won't let me go out to eat?" Li Jinhai sat in front of the sofa, staring at Li Duoli with a mobile phone and a cigarette in his hand, frowning. "Is there anything delicious outside that I can eat?" Hua Luo pointed to the gift brought by Nuan and frowned. "What the hell is this? I was too busy today and didn't check. I'll correct the typos later." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 435. Listening to Li Jinhan's quarrel in the living room, Han Qian hurriedly ran out, fearing that the eldest lady Wen Nuan would also get angry. He came to the living room with an apron and chuckled softly. "These are cigarettes I bought for you and my second uncle." Li Jinhan frowned and looked unhappy. "What kind of cigarettes are you buying? Do you give a cigarette as a gift during the Chinese New Year? Where do you get this rule? Besides, I have smoked soft cigarettes all my life." What did you buy this, Huang Hialo? I don't think you meant it. I bought it. Han Qiansheng looked at Li Jinhan helplessly and lamented. Uncle, a pack of these cigarettes is 100, and 2 cigarettes are 2,000. Hearing that the price was not low, Li Jinhan's expression softened a bit, and then he pointed at the 2 bottles of wine and frowned. What the hell is this? I smoke Ruan Huazi and drink Mao Tai for a lifetime. I think you really didn't come to see me on purpose. Han Qian lowered his head and whispered back. Isn't all wine spicy? Li Jinhan stood up and said angrily. Can that be the same? Han Qian turned around and ran away. Li Jinhan glared at Han Qian's back and said angrily. What are you wearing? His tone was full of dissatisfaction. Han Qian returned to the kitchen and sighed helplessly. His aunt looked at his nephew and son-in-law's helpless look and comforted him softly. Don't pay attention to him. He has been doing this all his life. His son and grandson are not willing to go home now. If he doesn't go home, he still wants to go home. As soon as he comes home, he starts to scold him. If there is no one at home to accompany him during the Chinese New Year, he will run to the second son's side. Here I am, calling your mother. I was thinking of calling my sister to come over for the New Year, but I started arguing before I even said a few words. Don't be on the same level as him. Han Qian sighed softly while cooking. It's okay. I have a good temper. I don't have the same experience as him. Look at my uncle's temper. Where is my second uncle? I'm too lazy to talk to your uncle. He's in the study. This time he came over to see you and Xianyuan. I heard that you've had a rough year. Auntie, you are right. There is a bullet hole in both my shoulders. To be honest, I don't have anywhere to cry. When I go home to cry, my parents are worried. I can't cry in front of the warmth. My stomach is full. I don't even know who to talk to about my grievances. I feel very aggrieved. Hey, if you have any grievances this time, tell your uncle. It's hard to talk. If he won't handle the matter for you, I'll quarrel with him. Auntie is the best. While they were talking, Li Jinhai and his second aunt also came. What a coincidence, the second aunt and my mother's names were exactly the same. Li Jinhai, an old-fashioned old man, told Han Qian not to pay attention to Li Jinhan. He was menopausal and had many thoughts of sitting in a leadership position. Now, I'm used to training people. 4 people were chatting in the study, and Li Jinhan was scolding Li Er and Wen Nuan in the living room. These 2 little ones didn't want to give him face. If you say something, I will say something back. At the dinner table, Li Jinhan was sitting at the head seat, pointing at the fish head on the table and frowning. What the hell is this? The eldest aunt replied. Carp. Then who should this fish head be pointed at? Pointed at me, I am the senior one. Xiao Qian is a guest and uncle, shouldn't he be facing Xiao Qian? What kind of guest is he? How many years has he been married? And Han Qian, why are you, a grown man, always running into the kitchen? A man should be armed with a gun to protect his family and country. Does it look good or is it fun to wear an apron? You have no future. It started again. Wen Nuan put down his chopsticks and glared at Li Jinhan, saying angrily. Uncle, why do you always talk about Han Qian? If he doesn't cook, what will I eat? Li Jinhan turned the spear around, frowned at Wen Nuan and scolded. As a woman, you can't even cook. What else do you want? I will take Han Qian home. Let's go. Han Qian won't eat this meal. When he comes, he starts swearing. Isn't it good to be nice and angry? Go home. This really made Wen Nuan so angry. He started talking about Han Qian from the moment he walked in. It doesn't matter whether Han Qian is good or not. If he treats Wen well, then he is the best. Seeing that Wen and Han Qian are leaving, Li Jinhan's expression changed, his temper also rose, and he shouted. Go, go, don't come see me for the rest of your life. Nuan turned around and said angrily. If you don't want to watch, don't watch. After the two left, the atmosphere became very awkward. Li Jinhai glared at Li Jinhan, sighed and stood up and went to the study. Li Er also got up and went to the bedroom. At the dinner table, the aunt put down her chopsticks and glared at Li Jinhan, saying angrily. If you care about children, treat them well. Why are you always lecturing them? They are all 25 or 6-year-old children. They can live a good life without you lecturing them. Why do you always worry about it? Xiao Nuan, the company is doing well. When Xiao Qian caused trouble in the city, he didn't call you for help. What's wrong? Did the two children embarrass you or make you worry? People don't know you are here in the first month of the year. You bought the wrong gift, and you bought the wrong gift. Didn't Xiao Qian also go to the kitchen to cook? Whose uncle have you ever seen cook when he went to his uncle's house? Li Jinhan frowned and said angrily. I just said a few words and ran away. Whose good did I say they were for? Can I borrow their money or let them support me in my old age? Did I come to the city to see Xiao Hai? Or for Xiao Qian's sake? Came here. Who knows if you don't tell me? Xiao Qian has a good temper, no matter what you say, but who does Xiao Qian live with? Living with Nuan does not mean serving you, an unruly old man, who likes fish heads, right? Eat it yourself, facing you, kiss it. The eldest aunt also left, leaving Li Jinhan alone while cooking. The old man also felt that something was wrong, so he stood up and walked to Li Er's bedroom and knocked on the door. Xiao go and drag your sister and your brother-in-law back. Li Er replied irritably. I won't go. You've been scolded and I can't bring you back. My brother-in-law has such a good character, so I won't go. Go, don't you like that car? I'll buy it for you. I do not want it. Li Jinhan closed his eyes and sighed, then became angrier as he thought about it, and roared angrily. I sent back the gifts I gave them both. I don't care about them. In the end, no one tried to persuade him. Li Jinhan stamped his feet vigorously when he went out, but no one paid any attention to him. The old man hurried downstairs and looked at Han Qian squatting next to the car downstairs smoking. Li Jinhan breathed a sigh of relief. As soon as he took a step forward, Wen Nuan suddenly appeared, opened the car door and stuffed Han Qian into the car like a stuffer. Seeing this, Li Jinhan hurriedly stepped forward, grabbed Wen's wrist, and frowned. Why are you bullying Xiao Qian? My husband, I do. Wen Nuan, this girl is extremely ignorant. Han Qian climbed out of the car again, looked at Li Jinhan and laughed softly. Uncle, I really didn't know you were here, otherwise I wouldn't be able to buy so many gifts. Don't be angry. I'll just buy another one. What are you buying? It's just a formality. If you don't tell me about this, you will remember it later. The food will be cold after a while. Let's go after eating. Han Qian nodded. In fact, Li Jinhan's fault was correct. The gifts, fish heads and aprons were all reasonable, but his tone was too strong. Wen Nuan stood there and stubbornly pulled Han Qian to prevent him from letting him go. After going back, Han Qian sighed softly and said a few words in Nuan's ear. Nuan followed reluctantly upstairs. No matter what, Li Jinhan has already gone downstairs. As an elder, he is giving steps to the younger generation, and the younger generation has to take over. Moreover, it is nothing serious. They are all relatives, so it will be over. After sitting at the dinner table, Li Jinhan pointed at the fish on the table and frowned. What the hell is this? Everyone's expressions changed instantly, and Li Jinhan said next. It still tastes good. After saying this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Then Li Jinhai got 2 glasses of white wine, and Li Jinhan took a big sip with a ferocious look on his face. Xiao Qian is right, any wine is equally spicy. Han Qian didn't want to say a word. His eldest uncle didn't scold his second uncle. Their personalities were very simple. If they didn't like someone, they wouldn't even look at them. The more they treated each child, the more they scolded them. This kind of rare method Han Qian used, I can't understand it. The atmosphere on Han Qian's side was relatively harmonious, but on the other side, Lin Zongheng and his son had already begun to have troubles. Many shopping malls were suddenly rectified, and it was justified. Even if they knew that Han Qian was behind the scenes, they could not accept this fact. Lin Zongheng, who had been discharged from the hospital, stood in Lin Men's study and frowned. What should we do now? The shopping mall has been closed for a month. Not only will it lose profits, but its reputation will also be affected. The merchants have been silent for a few days, but they will come to inquire after a few days. Now there is no way for the city to accommodate. Lin Men frowned and shook his head slightly. There is no way. Cheng Jin and Niu Qiudong issued the order together. It was said to be about the fire safety of the mall and customer hygiene. Cheng Jin and Niu Qiudong are now defending Han Qian and want them to let go unless Han Qian dies. Dad, who found that hooker? If you can contact him first. Lin Men shook his head again and did not speak. At that time, he thought Han Qian was just bragging, and even if he and Cheng Jin had a good relationship, could Cheng Jin offend Chang Xiang for him? Is Cheng Jin stupid? In the end, Cheng Jin was really stupid. He really helped Han Qian, and Niu Qiudong also intervened. This was all Lin Men's surprise. How many things does Han Qian have in his hands now that the Yamanman can open the back door for him like this? Lin Men had no choice at this time. Could it be that Han Qian was willing to let Wen Nuan suffer losses? Luo Shen on the side frowned. Is this Han Qian so generous? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 436. After seeing Li Jinhan and Li Jinhai, Han Qian stopped visiting his elders. As for Wen Xiao's relationship, Han Qian didn't go and had no plans to go. Wen Ru took the initiative to call and ask for help. The main purpose was to ask for warmth. Her brother-in-law was open-minded. Wen Nuan didn't know how to respond. Han Qian grabbed the phone and hung up. Don't answer her calls from now on. This matter is not something you can resolve just because you say you can. It's you who they bullied, and I'm the one who did it. Have a good rest. I'm going to work on the 6th day of the new year, so have a good rest. Han Qian felt like he was living at home for the past 2 days. Wen Nuan did not do anything serious at all. Chang Xiang executives were going crazy. Their vice president, Miss Wen, was still talking to Han Qian about Yan Qingqing and Cai Qinghu. The question is who he wants to save first. Han Qian asked this question for 2 days. In the end, Han Qian had no choice. No matter how he answered it, he would be dead. He called Ji Jing and asked what the correct answer was. Ji Jing did not answer, but asked quietly. She is added to each sentence. Han Qian hung up the phone immediately. On the morning of the 6th day of the Lunar New Year, Han Qian got up and ran away without combing his face or washing his face. He went downstairs and drove straight to the company, rubbing the shit out of his eyes. Going to work makes him happy, while vacation makes him miserable. After arriving at the company, Han Qian ran to the lobby of the honor group wearing a shirt and suit as cold as a third grandson. He stood in front of the time card machine and stretched out his hand. Han Qian couldn't help but shudder. He was so frightened by the warmth that he wore the wrong clothes when he went out. Looking at the crowded employee elevator, Han Qian turned around and ran to the executive elevator. He returned to the general department again and looked at his familiar colleagues. Han Qian smiled, Su Liang standing up and giving Han Qian a hug, the young woman Yao Shui held her chin in one hand and looked at the two young men full of homosexuality, smiling. "I beg you two to get married where you are," Su Yang said with a smile. "I do not mind." The next second, he was pushed away by Han Qian with a look of disgust on his face. He searched for a bottle of women's facial cleanser from Fang Shanshan. Han Qian went to the bathroom and felt the warm water flowing on his fingertips. Han Qian sighed that life is so good. In winter, there is hot water from the boiling faucet. After washing his face and returning to the general department, Han Qian was in high spirits, and Yao Shui smiled again. "My young master Han, there are no servants at home to help you wash your face today? Why did you come to the company to wash your face?" Han Qian wiped his face and said with a smile. "Why don't you stare at Sister Yao and wash my face?" "Don't. Master Han's face is so delicate, sister will wash it with your tongue." "You didn't eat leeks this morning, did you?" After hearing this, Yao Shui got up and rushed towards Han Qian. Han Qian ran away, holding Lu Zhulong's waist with his upper hand and shouting for protection from the chicken mother. Lu Zhulong looked at Yao Shui shyly, then pointed at his face. Yao Shui seeing this, he smiled. "No. Deputy Lu, I'm afraid your face will be nicked by my tongue. It's all barbed." Lu Zhulong didn't feel embarrassed after hearing this and laughed. Then he patted Han Qian behind him and said softly, Okay, stop making trouble, you, Sister Yang, have something to announce later." Han Qian looked at Lu Zhulong in confusion. The latter pressed his shoulders and pushed him to the door of Yang Ian's office. The small internet cafe where the trio lived had been demolished. Han Qian applied to change seats, but Lu Zhulong pretended not to hear him. Then Han Qian discovered that he, Su Yang, and De Qianer were far away from each other, forming a triangle divided into 3 areas. What did this mean? At 9:05, Yang Lan came. Having known Yang Lan for so long, Han Qian has seen her wear the same clothes. Wearing a white cotton padded jacket that reaches just above the knees, simple denim cropped pants, and a pair of cotton boots worth more than a dozen yuan, Yang Ian's simple dress seems not simple. She has forced this older sister in her 30s to dress up as a little girl about the same age as Han Qian. Just as Han Qian was about to speak, Yang Lan put the document in his hand on his head and shouted softly. "I couldn't bear to announce this news on the 6th day of the Lunar New Year, but it was decided by the top management, so I had no choice but to do it. Some people may have to leave the general department." As soon as he finished speaking, everyone's expressions became very nervous. Many of them were transferred here years ago and might be suddenly transferred away. Except for Han Qian, everyone else was very nervous, especially the veterans of the general department. Yang Lan read out 7 or 8 names in one breath, and almost all the people who stayed in the general department last time and did not participate in the Liancheng team plan were transferred. Yao Shui patted her chest and said in fear, "I thought it was me. It scared me to death." Han Qian crossed his legs and poured hot water into the paper cup with the water cup in Yang Ian's hand. He sipped the hot water and said softly, "Why are you so nervous?" Yao Shui reached out and grabbed the paper cup that Han Qian had not yet put into his mouth, and said angrily, "It has nothing to do with you. I heard that as long as you are in this company, you can go to any department you want. We are different from you. What are you afraid of? Can't you just bring me back to you when the time comes? If you don't have any other ability, just brag about your abilities." As soon as he finished speaking, the document in Yang Ian's hand hit Han Qian's back, and Yang Lan scolded him. "Don't talk nonsense. This is a decision made by the top management. New people will come to report later. The general department does not have any tasks for the time being. You fishermen should also pay attention. Han Qian gives you this document. You can finish it and hand it over. Everyone is fishing, and only Han Qian is working. This is just a simple general department operation plan. Han Qian didn't quite understand the purpose of this plan. After thinking for a while, Han Qian found Yang Lan with a blank document and said softly, "Sister Yang, what does this mean? Isn't our general department a senior care department?" Yang Lan spread his hands, looked at Han Qian with a helpless expression, and curled his lips. "I don't know the specific matters. At the moment, I only know that multiple departments are going to sort out the affairs of the Liancheng Group. The open fire of the Honor Group's shopping mall catering was cancelled at today's meeting, and Vice President Gao is in charge of this matter. I think the purpose of the high-level meeting is to hand over all matters related to the Honor Furniture Plaza to the General Department, and to name you to take responsibility." Han Qian tilted his head and frowned. "It probably means that Honor Furniture Plaza will be built by the General Department? Will the General Department get a bonus if it makes money? How will it be calculated if it loses? You have to ask Mr. Yan about this. I don't know very well. You can just do it in a general way, and then give it to me. I will take it to Mr. Yan for formality. In addition, there are almost everyone who will come to the General Department in the afternoon. They are all juniors and relatives of the company's top management. Please control your temper." "Oh, I'm going to do something." Walking out of Yang Ian's office, Han Qian sat in front of the computer and was at a loss. He had a model in his mind for the operation of the mall, but it was a bit difficult for him to make it. Now Han Qian could only hope that the newcomers would come over and complete the plan. Until noon, no newcomers came to report. The 5-person team went downstairs to eat. Shan Shan shouted that she wanted to eat cold noodles. She had almost eaten like a pig during the Chinese New Year in the past few days. When Han Qian and the others sat down, Miss Ye Lai came and brought new news. Sister Wan Wan resigned. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 437. After a year, the company seemed to have changed. The relationship between Yan Qingqing and Gao Ziji had been eased. Of course, this was just an illusion and a short-lived piece. The general department was replaced again, and Yan Qingqing seemed to want to provide some talents to the general department. Han Qian didn't know what he was thinking specifically, but Wan Fang's resignation should have something to do with Wu Siquan. This little girl's head is much easier to use than before. Now there is a braver Wan Fang around her, and there is another one who is not sure whether he is good or bad for the time being. Yates. Han Qian ate the cold noodles and nodded slightly. It's good to resign. Public relations departments are all about youth. Leave as soon as possible and feel at ease. Miss Ye Lai nodded slightly. She had already started to organize the work in the public relations department. With the relationship between Sul Yang and Han Qian, Sun Ya could not assign tasks to her anymore. After Han Qian finished speaking, he lowered his head and took a bite of noodles. A little cool, just to relieve the greasiness of the past few days. Lu Zhuolong on the side reminded in a low voice. It's better not to let Sun Ya hear this. Although the public relations department is said to be young and the living conditions are relatively difficult, the public relations department is an indispensable department of the company and is much more important than our general department. Han Qian nodded lightly. I know that. Who has time in the afternoon? Help me complete the task that Sister Yang gave me. After the words came out, Lu Zhuolong said quickly. I have other things to do in the afternoon, you ask Sul Yang. Han Qian looked at Sul Yang, who raised his head and looked at Han Qian, shaking his head gently and whispering. Do you believe me when I say I have some personal matters to take care of? Han Qian asked with a frown. What about house decoration? Almost. Then go to the public relations department this afternoon. After saying that, she turned to look at Fang Shanshan and Diqianer. Shanshan quickly said that there was a drama in the afternoon and begged Han Qian not to assign the task to her. Qian volunteered to help, but Han Qian refused. He didn't want to help. Play games for big money. After a cigarette, Han Qian and Su Liang returned to the general department, laughing and joking, arm in arm. The newcomers had already arrived. They were said to be newcomers, but in fact they were all old employees from other departments. They didn't know their names, but they looked familiar. A total of 5 people were transferred, 4 men and 1 woman. The 4 young men were about the same age as Han Qian, a few years older. The only female was a little older, about 35 or 6 years old. Han Qian couldn't help but wonder if Yan Qingqing deliberately did not send a young girl to the general department, just to guard against Han Qian. When the newcomer arrived, Su Liang smiled, stepped forward and handed the documents on Han Qian's desk to the newcomer Duan Mingfeng and Gao Qiu, saying calmly, "This is the work that Sister Yang left in the morning. You just came to the general department, so you should finish this first and hand it over to Deputy Lu after you finish it. There are no rules in the general department. As long as you don't talk back to Sister Yang, everything will be easy to talk about and the work will not be rushed. Do it slowly and choose a suitable place to sit." "Why? Can it still be like this? Isn't this bullying newbies?" At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Yang Lan, who had disappeared for the whole afternoon, came back. Looking at the documents in her hand, she knew that she had work to do again. Yang Lan handed the documents to Lu Zhuolong, and the two discussed in a low voice for a while. Lu Zhuolong began to assign work. Regarding the marketing and investment promotion of Glory Furniture Plaza, Shanshan was lying on the table muttering that she didn't have time to catch up on dramas anymore, but this work still had to be done. Su Liang got a new task, asking him to take 2 newcomers to Glory Furniture Plaza. Take a look at the interior decoration and talk about the building materials. Does this mean that this work is completely handed over to the general department? Han Qian was not assigned a job, but Yang Lan did not allow him to leave the general department and go to other departments to cause trouble. The general department was very busy in the afternoon. The newcomers had to ask the old man for advice on how to live more comfortably in the general department and how to do their work. They only knew one thing now, and they could not provoke Han Qian. The afternoon was very difficult. Han Qian was lying on the table drowsily, as if there were 2 lead pendants hanging on her eyelids. When Han Qian thought she had fallen asleep, she was woken up by someone, and she raised her head and glared. Sun Ya was startled by this person and quickly took a step back. "Sun Ya." Han Qian scratched his head in surprise and said doubtfully, "Sister Yaya." Sun Ya patted her chest and looked at Yang Lan beside her and said fearfully, "Lan Lan, you scared me to death. I won't dare scream next time he sleeps. It feels like he is going to kill me." As he spoke, he hid behind Yang Lan. Yang Lan looked at Han Qian with a frown and said softly, "Fell asleep?" Han Qian nodded with confused eyes, frowned and sighed. "Don't mention it. I don't even dare to go home now. I have a terrible headache." After finishing his words, Yang Lan stood behind Han Qian and gently rubbed Han Qian's temples and said softly, "Don't be too tired. Vice President Gao is looking for you. Be good and be good." Han Qianzhao said coquettishly to Yang Lan, "Sister, I don't want to go. Be good, be obedient, and go take a look. Come on, Mr. Han, I'll buy you milk tea, it's so sweet." Yang Lan and Sun Ya persuaded Han Qian together. The new people in the general department were all looking at Han Qian, curious in their hearts, how powerful is he now? Why does it feel like both department managers are coaxing him like a child? This is the method that Yang Lan and Sun Ya asked for from Ji Jing. It won't work if you use force to deal with Han Qian. He doesn't care about the mess, so he has to coax him, just like a child. Han Qian is helpless. He stood up and said seriously to Sun Ya, "As you said, Buy me milk tea. Buy a few more cups and give them away when I go to visit you in the afternoon. Okay, okay, my eldest young master, come with me quickly. Just like that, Han Qian was taken away. When he left the general department, Yang Lan breathed a sigh of relief, covering his head and saying feebly, "What can I do with this kid? He has such a donkey-like temper." Yao Shui spoke in a low voice. "That's good. I kind of hope Han Qian is like this. Think about Li Dongshen's two accomplices last time, at work, Du and Mingfeng. You are from the design department, right? Han Qian will tell you that there is no underground design the parking lot, and you can help make a drawing." After saying that, he looked at Yang Lan and spoke. "Lan Lan, when will this mall open?" Yang Lan closed her eyes and frowned, feebly. "In mid-March, Mr. Yan wants to open the business before March 15th. I almost forgot one thing. Yao Shui, please call Sul Yang now and ask him to contact the people at Fenghua Decoration and tell them that the shop that has been decided is ready to move in. The first batch of shops to move in can enjoy the decorated store presented by Honor Group. Vice Lu, you take Su Jian and Sun Yu to the mall to change jobs with Sul Yang." Why did Vice President Gao borrow people at this time? I'm so annoyed. Yan Qingqing was very anxious, and she didn't know why she was anxious. The general department is very busy. Han Qian met Gao Jixi in the company gym on the 13th floor. This was Han Qian's first time in Honor's gym. Is this reserved for senior executives? There is one more update, I will write it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 438. Han Qian took off his suit and shirt, picked up a tennis racket and waved it at Gao Xing, smiling. "A couple of them." Gao Xingcheng stood up with a smile. "Let's make some bets. If you win, tell me how Lu Shenga and Lin Zongheng were injured. If you lose, you can make a request." After hearing this, Han Qian shrugged and curled his lips. "What a big deal. We went hunting in the mountains without any bodyguards, and then a fight broke out. That's all." After saying that, Han Qian served the ball, but it didn't pass the net. He had no choice but to take the new ball and continue to serve. The ball was aimed at Gao Xingxing's face, but unfortunately the accuracy was a little worse. Gao Xingxing counterattacked with his racket and shouted loudly. "Young Master Han, you are so straightforward, which makes me a little embarrassed. I'm sorry that I'm going to make a target soon. Let me hit you with 2 darts. No. Mr. Han, just tell me if you have something to say. You told Lu Shenga the location of my home." "Huh? Classmate Xiao Gao." Gao Xing'ai put down his racket, walked decisively to stand in front of the non-target target, and said helplessly to Han Qian. "I don't believe it if you say it has nothing to do with me. Since Mr. Han has already guessed the purpose of inviting you here today, I will accept it no matter what. Then give your shares to Yan Qingqing." "Master Han. Let's not make trouble." Han Qian put down his racket and said calmly. "Then what else can I ask for? So, you tell me where the hooker is. I can guarantee that Lu Shenga didn't come here for you. Do I need you to tell me this? Forget it, you can ask Sun Ya to give Yang Ian's daughter a red envelope for the new year. You owe me a favor now. I won't let Tu Xiao trouble you. I will need it in the future. When you pay me back, can Yates be trusted? Master Han, don't ask me, I'm not sure about this. I asked Lu Shenga for 2% of the shares, but he didn't give it to me. Otherwise, let's work together to kill Lu Shenga, the chairman, and then I ask Jianling for 1%. Master Han, do you think Gao is a fool? It's your brother-in-law who thinks you're a fool. As long as Gao Fulai agrees, Lu Shenga, the chairman of the board, can be dismissed. Unfortunately, Gao Fulai cannot be fooled. Han Qian puts on his clothes and sits down to rest. At this time, the milk tea ordered by Sun Yazi is delivered. Han Qian glances at Gao Fulai. Said softly. Is this why you came to me? Nothing else. Gao Xingyi shook his head. No, after all, I don't want to lose you as a friend, Mr. Han. Han Qian held the milk tea and smiled lightly. I'm not that stingy, but I also hold a grudge. Let's go now. We'll talk about these things when Lu Shenga comes back. It's my first day at work. I don't want to be too tired, so I'll leave now. Now Han Qian really doesn't want to get into too much of a fight with Gao Jishi. There will be many places where he can be used in the future. Whether it's the shares he holds in the company or the interpersonal relationships outside, Gao Jishi plays an important role. Just kidding, the matter is over now and we will settle the accounts later. After Han Qian left, Gao Jixi breathed a sigh of relief. He was really worried that Han Qian would have some thoughts about the shares in his hand because of this matter. When Han Qian said that he wanted to, Gao Jixiang was really nervous when he took away some of his shares. The news of the closure of Changxiang shopping mall has spread because Lin Mend and his son offended Han Qian. Now Han Qian is no longer someone Gao Jingcheng can provoke. Don't look at it, he is just a white-collar worker now. Carrying milk tea, he walked to the operations department and stood at the door watching Ji Jing assigning work. Well, he was very serious and a little more forceful than in private. Han Qian was very pleased and was not in a hurry to disturb Ji Jing. Han Qian stood. She waited quietly at the door, but then the staff of the operations department started to make noises. Ji Jing turned around and saw Han Qian, and couldn't help but blush. She put down what she was doing and walked to the door, pushing Han Qian's shoulders and pushing him out of the office. Gentle Judo. Why are you here? Han Qian picked up the milk tea and said with a smile. I'm giving you this. They say girls like to drink it nowadays. Ji Jing chose a cup of mango-flavored milk tea from the bag, held it warm in her hands, lowered her head and whispered. Why did you go buy milk tea? It's not like your character. It's really not me. I don't even know what milk tea tastes like. I asked someone else to buy it and thought of sending it to you. I heard that the company has to speed up the work. Everyone is very busy at work, so I'm afraid you might come back again at noon. Not eating. Ji Jing's neck started to turn red and she whispered weakly. I've eaten, and what I said on the phone the day before yesterday was just a joke, don't be angry. Why are you angry? It's all a joke. I'm too tired from work. If you have any problems, just call me. I'll come over and solve it for you. You didn't call you at home. You called me and asked me how you are doing here. You didn't say anything else. I'm going back to work first. I'll bring you lunch tomorrow. You should be tired of eating meat during the Chinese New Year. I'm going to get busy. Ji Jing turned around and left, not paying attention to the door frame in front of her. Han Qian stretched out his hand and put it on Aunt Ji's forehead, bumping into the palm of his hand. Ji Jing smiled naively, turned around and slipped into the operations department, and then there was someone in the operations department. There was a burst of laughter. Han Qian smiled, turned around and gave the milk tea in his hand to little Yang Jia, telling her to drink 1 cup herself and give the remaining cup to Mr. Yan. Little Yang Jia looked at Han Qian suspiciously and murmured in a low voice. To be courteous for nothing, to be a traitor or a thief, tell me. What are you going to do? A cup of milk tea is definitely not enough for something like stealing Mr. Yan's silk stockings. Han Qian squinted at Yang Jia and said with disdain. What's going on in your mind? Are you confused? Just wait, I'll give this cup to your sister, and I'll let your sister. My sister doesn't wear stockings. If you buy me a drink a day, I can let my sister try it. Little Yang Jia, you're done. I'll tell your sister to go. Han Jian ran away, which frightened little Yang Jia. He gave the milk tea to Yan Qingqing and then ran to the general department. When he arrived at the general department, he saw Han Jian chatting with Yang Lan. Little Yang Jia rushed forward and covered Han Jian. Jian's face, exclaimed. Brother Jian, I was wrong. Han Jian gritted his teeth and said angrily. If you don't let me talk, you'll hold my mouth. What's the use of holding my eyes? If you don't come, I'll go. Sister Yang, let me tell you. Ah! I can't say it. Sharp nails scratched Han Jian's face. Although Han Jian didn't say anything, Yang Lan dragged little Yang Jia out of the general department by his ears, and then Xiao Yang Jia's wailing was heard. Got beaten. Han Jian had no intention of persuading him at all. He was gloating over his misfortune while drinking milk tea. Why, little girl, are you making trouble with me? When it was time to get off work, Yan Qingqing came to the general department with milk tea. When she walked into the general department, the entire department became quiet. Yan Qingqing looked around for a week, then slowly walked to Han Jian's side and patted him. Shoulder, said coldly. Come out with me for a moment. Why? Is there something wrong with this tone? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 439. In the corridor, Yan Qingqing hugged her arms and looked coldly. Han Jian seemed a little confused and scratched his head and whispered. What's wrong? Yan Qingqing frowned as she was kicked on the calf. Don't speak all the dialects all day long. What did Sun Ya say to you when she went to see Gao Xingxing this afternoon? I finally found out that you are closer to Gao Xingxing than me now. Xiao Yang Jia said you let her steal my stockings. Han Jian, can you have something serious on your mind for the day? Han Jian bent down and covered his calf, frowning and replied. What the hell? After saying this, Yan Qingqing kicked Han Jian's calf again and said angrily. The northeast flavor is coming out. Han Jian raised his hands and spoke helplessly. I won't speak anymore. Then you admit it? Admit what? Let Yang Jia steal my stockings. I'll let her steal it. If I like it, I'll let Aunt Ji wear it for me, okay. After he finished speaking, he was kicked again. This kick made Han Jian lose his temper. He put his arms around Yan Qingqing's neck and clamped it under his arm. He said angrily to his little head with a headache. Are you addicted to kicking me? Han Jian. Are you crazy? How dare you fight back? We had a fight when we first met, have you forgotten? I didn't do anything and you already kicked me 3 times. When Han Jian and Yan Qingqing's reckless tempers came together, there would inevitably be sparks. When the stalemate reached a stalemate, Yang Lan ran out and pulled the two of them apart. Yan Qingqing arranged her hair and raised her legs towards Han Jian's crotch. Kicked away, Han Jian was shocked. He backed away and glared at Yan Qingqing. Yang Lan covered her head and said helplessly. The surveillance video has recorded it. What are you doing? You two are going to go home and cause trouble. The impact here is so bad. Yan Qingqing glared at Han Jian and said angrily. Go home somewhere, come with me and go to the Yamen gate for a meeting. Han Jian stretched out his hand to hold Yang Ian's shoulders, pushed the eldest sister in front of Yan Qingqing, and said seriously. Ask Sister Yang to accompany you. Yang Lan frowned. I'm going to pick up the kids. Han Jian said immediately. Let Yang Jia pick him up. Yan Qingqing said angrily. Yang Jia also has to go to a meeting with me. You 3 beauties go together. I'll pick up Bai Bei and show her the spring clothes. You go. Yang Lan, please get out of the way, I don't believe I can't punish little Han Jian today. As soon as the words fell, Yan Qingqing grabbed Han Qian's ear, and then hit his head with a headbutt. The next second, Han Qian squatted on the ground holding his chin. The same attack method, but the force point is different. I haven't practiced this chin before. Yan Qingqing grabbed Han Qian's back collar and whispered to Yang Lan. I'll leave the shopping mall matters to you. If you encounter any trouble, contact me as soon as possible. Since Lu Shenga won't be able to come back for the time being, I'll save my worries by finishing it as soon as possible. Han Qian, should you leave by yourself or should I drag you along? Han Qian didn't say anything. Yan Qingqing simply dragged Han Qian to the elevator. Han Qiansheng was hopeless. Why do you have to work overtime on your first day at work? The meeting at the Yamen Gate was scheduled for 6 o'clock in the evening. The location was the conference room at the city Yamen Gate. Han Qian did not expect that the person organizing the meeting would be Cheng Jin. Several business tycoons in the city were here, half of them Han Qian. Qian's acquaintance. Han Qian saw Nuan and Yu Shisai, as well as Lin Zongheng and Luo Shen. Tu Xiao and Guan Degu. Lu Guangming and Wen Ru's husband. There are many acquaintances, and there is a small chair behind each big boss's seat. This is reserved for their secretaries or assistants. Giving a small chair is already a very good treatment. Meeting at the Yamen Gate is just for them. Standing still, they had no temper. Then Han Qian discovered a problem. Little Yang Jia sat behind Yan Qingqing, and Sun Ya sat behind Gao Xincheng. He couldn't sit in the boss's seat, so he stood at the door and scratched his head in embarrassment, facing the permanent secretary. Speak softly. Old Chang, where should I sit? The permanent secretary softly told Han Qian to sit wherever he wanted. Tu Xiao stood up and asked Han Qian to sit there. He and Guan Yunbiao were rough people and didn't understand well. Wen Wenwen had already stood up and made room for Han Qian to sit with her. Xiao Yangjia stood up and gave up her seat. Han Qian glanced at it, then pulled up a chair and sat at the door. I don't know what Yan Qingqing's purpose was in arresting him, or what kind of meeting was going to be held at the Yamen Gate. As soon as Han Qian sat down, Cai Qinghu came over with the documents. He was slightly startled when he saw Han Qian, and handed the documents in his hand to Cheng Jinho. He also pulled up a chair and sat next to Han Qian, and said softly, I am affiliated with the provincial government office. I can just sit in on your city's meetings. Then he asked Han Qian in a low voice about who should fall into the water first. Han Qian closed his eyes like an old monk in meditation, saying nothing. Everyone had already arrived. Cheng Jin coughed slightly to signal everyone to be quiet. He crossed his index fingers on the table and said softly, First of all, let me make some small talk. There are already hidden dangers to public security in the city. Officials and businessmen are too close, and there is gray income. I have invited you to the Yamenmen today to give you a warning. Everyone nodded expressionlessly, but Lin Zongheng started to curse Cheng Jin in his heart, because you are so damn close to Han Qian. Of course he just dared to think about it in his mind. Cheng Jin picked up the teacup and took a sip of tea before speaking softly. Let me first talk about safety hazards in the city. Recently, Secretary Niu and I led people to conduct random inspections of some shopping malls and factories in the city. After questioning, we found that workers in some companies did not even have the most basic personal accident insurance. Which unit specifically? I won't go into details. The person in charge will implement this matter after he returns. The big guys sitting there all turned around and told the secretary behind him to write down this matter. Cheng Jin coughed lightly and said again. Then there are shopping malls. The year before last, I went to groups such as Honor and Changxiang to inspect catering hygiene and safety hazards. As a result, you two companies turned a deaf ear to my words. I have warned many times that shopping malls, office buildings, and other places have made it clear it is prohibited to use open flames, gas, liquefied gas, etc. Once a fire occurs, the money lost is not urgent. If a citizen is injured and dies in the fire, can you afford this responsibility? After finishing his words, Gao Xing'ai stood up and said softly. What Mayor Cheng said is that Honor Group's shopping malls have begun to rectify open flames in restaurants, and Honor Group conducts fire drills for company employees before and after Qingming Festival every year. Cheng Jin ignored Gao Xing'ai, crossed his fingers on the table, looked at Lin Zongheng, and frowned. Your Changxiang Catering has always been a leading enterprise in the city, and every move you make is affecting the changes in the city. This time I have issued an order to close your Changxiang shopping mall for rectification, and it is also to protect the safety risks of the city's shopping malls. This time I am very dissatisfied with the fire protection and sanitation of Changxiang. I emphasize here that no catering or canteen is allowed on the first floor in any shopping mall. Summer is about to enter. Once mosquitoes, cockroaches, mice, etc. are discovered by me, just prepare to close your shopping mall. This time, Changxiang Group will not be fined. President Lin and Vice President Wen, please go back and implement this matter. Nuan stood up and said softly. Mayor Cheng, I have transferred the management and operation rights of Changxiang Group's shopping malls to Mr. Lin, but I will do my best to cooperate with any work at the Yamanmen. Cheng Jin nodded lightly, and Lin Zongheng replied in a deep voice. Mayor Cheng taught you a lesson. Cheng Jin nodded slightly, then sighed and said again. The Yamanmen would like to say thank you to Shuncheng Group. Shuncheng Urban Construction Group has successively donated nearly 1 million yuan in materials to the city's sanitation, so that sanitation workers no longer suffer from the cold in winter. The additional neon safety vests have reduced the number of sanitation workers. The worker was scratched by a night-moving vehicle. Lu Guangming scratched his head shyly and laughed softly. Yes, it should be. The growth of Shuncheng Group is inseparable from the support of the people in the city and the trust of the government offices. The crow also knows how to feed back. Shuncheng Group will do its best to let citizens live in the most comfortable houses and enjoy the lowest prices, strive to let all citizens have a home to return to, and Lu will continue to work on the Shuncheng Love Project. Cheng Jin nodded lightly and said calmly. If you encounter any trouble, contact the Yamanmen immediately. The Yamanmen will also cooperate with Shuncheng Group's charity plan. I would like to mention one more thing later. Go Daipeo appeared at the birthday party of honor shareholder Lin Mend. Ha 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 ha. A burst of laughter interrupted Cheng Jin's words. Everyone turned to look at Han Qian, who was sitting at the door laughing. Cai Qinghe covered Han Qian's mouth with embarrassment on his face. Cheng Jin stared at Han Qian coldly and said coldly. You two, get out of here. Han Qian and Cai Qinghe stood up and trotted out of the conference room with their heads lowered. Cheng Jin turned purple, looked at the two leaders of the honor group, and said coldly. The overall quality of honor group needs to be improved. Yan Qingqing and Gao Xing'ai nodded like chickens pecking at rice. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 440. Han Qian and Cai Qinghe stood with their backs against the wall. It was all Cai Qinghe's fault. He insisted on telling Han Qian a joke, which made Han Qian unable to hold back his laughter. In fact, it was not a joke, but an embarrassing incident of Cai Qinghe's childhood. Niu Qiudong, who came to the conference room with a hot water cup, looked at the two people and smiled. It looks like you were kicked out by Cheng Jin? Stand still. I'll clean up the two of you in a moment. Who is the one inside? Keep an eye on them both. After saying that, Niu Qiudong walked into the conference room, and then Niu Qiudong's roar came from the conference room. About an hour later, the meeting ended. Tu Xiao, who left the meeting room first, seemed to be very dissatisfied with Niu Qiudong. At the same time, he also lamented that Niu Qiudong was a good man. He had a broken water cup in his hand, which he had in his hand when he met him. This is still the case now. I guess you don't need to make tea, just pour some water and it tastes like tea, inferior tea. Then when Nuan, who walked out of the door, came to Han Qian's side, stretched out his hands to hold Han Qian's face, and frowned pitifully. My brother Qian, can you tell me the occasion and the place? Because Yu Yan, who was scolded very miserably. Han Qian glanced at Yan Qingqing, who was standing not far away with a gloomy face, out of the corner of his eye, then pointed at Cai Qinghu and muttered vaguely. She told me jokes. When Cai Qinghu was about to retort, Lin Zongheng and Luo Shen came out. Luo Shen looked at Han Qian with cold eyes and snorted coldly. Cai Qinghu curled his lips and looked at Luo Shen and said sarcastically. If you can't use your eyes, just donate them. Luo Shen looked at Cai Qinghu and frowned. Is it related to you? Cai Qinghu curled his lips and said sarcastically. Is it okay if I don't like you? Having 2 broken bucks is very powerful, isn't it? Sorry, you have 2 broken bucks more than you. When the words came out, everyone was looking at Cai Qinghu. When Nuan and Yan Qingqing also looked surprised. Luoshan's family was very wealthy, a little wealthier than Lin Zongheng. The family had a big business, otherwise they wouldn't have dared to name their names with the word God. Cai Qinghu should know about Luoshan. She calls this money broken money. And the meaning in the words is richer than Luo Shen. When his fiancée was bullied, Lin Zongheng naturally wanted to defend her and frowned. Prosecutor Cai, your family has no business anymore, and you are just sitting on your hands. Cai Qinghu curled his lips and said disdainfully. Then I am richer than you. Your company's worth is just an estimate. As for me, I have nothing but money. So, Luo Shen, don't always act like I'm the best in the world. You try giving my husband a look. After finishing speaking, Cheng Jin walked out of the conference room, looked at the young people gathered at the door, and frowned. What are you arguing about? Xiaohuo, you are from the Yamanmen, why do you become like a gangster after hanging out with Han Qian for a long time? In addition, the opening time of Changxiang shopping mall is to be determined, let's break up. Han Qian went downstairs surrounded by a crowd, but there were only 3 or 5 scattered people on Lin Zongheng's side. Luo Shen looked at Han Qian's back and gritted his teeth. Is he so capable? Lin Zongheng replied calmly. It won't last long. After Cheng Jin deals with the corrupt officials at the Yamen gate, he will be useless. Go back and organize the information. First, report some officials to help Cheng Jin. When Han Qian got into the car, he glanced at Lin Zongheng and made an international gesture. Lin Zongheng's performance was mediocre, while Luo Shen was furious. Why is this Han Qian so crazy? Because he has crazy capital. Now whether Changxiang Mall can open early is a matter of Han Qian's words. Sitting in the co-pilot of Yushisiza 7, Han Qian looked at the car up and down and said softly. How do you feel when you open it like this? Yushisai turned to Han Qian and smiled sweetly. Thank you. The little girl feels very comfortable using it. After finishing his words, he licked the corner of his mouth with the tip of his tongue. Han Qian was so frightened that he quickly tightened his clothes. Ever since he was pushed back by Yushisai and nursery rhymes, Han Qian now has a shadow. Yushisai looked at Han Qian's cowardly look and curled his lips and smiled. When did you act like a man and not want to harm her after sleeping with Nuan for so long? Han Qian curled his lips and said. Your back hurts, don't make trouble. Yushisai smiled and said again. How long are you going to keep Changxiang's shopping mall closed? Now it's not as simple as not recording the money. The profits that evaporate every day are terrifying. I'm afraid Changxiang won't be able to bear it after a long time. Han Qian shrugged after hearing this. It's better if you can't handle it. Only if you can't handle Lin Zongheng will you feel the pressure. Now everyone outside knows that Lin Zongheng has offended someone. When the time is almost right, Nuan will step forward to appease the merchants and the company's shareholders and take over this task. When the time comes, I just need to call Cheng Jin. Isn't the uniform nation operating normally? It's enough to let shareholders know that Lin Zongheng is not that powerful. Okay. You can get out. When he arrived at the door of his house, Han Qian decisively killed the donkey. Yu Shisai was so angry that he wanted to rape Han Qian first and then kill him. Time flew by quickly, and on the 15th day of the first lunar month, the mother-in-law and father-in-law came back. Early in the morning, Han Qian and Wen Nuan were preparing to visit the two elders. As soon as they came downstairs, Yang Lan called. The general department is not on holiday today and all employees have to go to work. Han Qian wailed into his mobile phone. Han Qian, who had been so busy in the past few days, had never left early. In order to finish his work and take a day off to see his mother-in-law, he still had to go to work. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian blinked at Nuan. Baby, I might have to go to work. When Nuan nodded to Han Qian sympathetically. Poor little one, please explain this to your mother-in-law later, by the way. Where did you throw our divorce certificate? Han Qian frowned and replied. Didn't I give it to you? You said you wanted to keep it? Won't I return it to you later? I do not know. Then it's over, lost. We still need a divorce certificate when we remarry. Isn't it enough to just tie it once? You, uncle. Get out of here. I'm annoyed by you, and I'm annoyed by you, Han Qian. Han Qian drove to the company. The 15th day of the first lunar month was such a lively festival, and the general department was also very lively. When Han Qian hurried into the general department, he heard the lamentation of the young woman Yao Shui. Ah! I was thinking about going to see my child today, but I was in trouble again. One sentence has been verified. When I pick up the brick, I can't hug you. If I hug you, I have to throw away the brick. Han Qian laughed after hearing this. Wouldn't it be nice to hold the brick in your left hand with your right hand? After hearing this, Yao Shui glared at Han Qian and gritted her teeth. I am carrying my child to work? How about I go pick up the child and you can carry it for me? Suliang came over with a stack of documents and smiled. What if everyone thinks this child is Han Qian's? When the time comes, I'll ask Qianer who he spoke to. Qianer, how do you answer? Han Qian took the document from Suliang's hand and smiled. Whoever you want to have sex with is. Who? Empress Yasha's murderous voice came from behind, and Han Qian forced himself to smile. I can't give birth either. Work, Suliang, what are these documents you gave me? Suliang said softly. You really have to do the shopping mall occupancy brand screening. I have the plan of the model room in my hand now, and it gives me a terrible headache. I was the only one who came to inquire about occupancy a year ago. The people in the business department have been kicked out many times. Now I can. Okay, I want to move in like crazy, and there are a few people who want to buy shops. Will they be sold? Han Qian turned on the computer, took a sip of water and replied softly. Sell it, why don't you sell it, 6,000 to 20,000 per square meter, and if you don't open a store near the corridor for 6 months, 80% of the purchase price will be refunded, and the store will be taken back. I'm going to write the next chapter. Can you guys help me pick out the typos? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 441. Shan, send the list to my computer and I will check it. Okay, brother Qianer. Gao Chuang, I will send you the brands I don't know here, and then you can check them out. Okay, brother Chiener. Han Qian started working. Yan Qingqing pulled up a chair and sat next to Han Qian. She looked sideways at the man who was working seriously. Yan Qingqing's heartbeat was beating fast. Yang Lan suddenly appeared and coughed. The focused Yan Qingqing was frightened. With one jump, he kicked off the power supply of Han Qian's computer. Han Qian frowned slowly turned his head to look at Yan Qingqing, and said with a frown, "What are you doing?" Seeing Han Qian's appearance, Yan Qingqing was a little nervous, but she couldn't apologize to Han Qian in front of so many people, so she quickly changed the subject. "The store is sold, how can we make money? Isn't this a one-time deal? The mall has a total investment of 12 million, how can the store be sold for so much money?" Han Qian frowned even more tightly and looked sideways at Yan Qingqing, his tone full of disgust. The four-story shopping mall is about 5,000 to 6,000 square meters. The empty area in the middle, excluding the corridors, is 3,000 to 3,500 square meters. The average price is 9,100 square meters. The income is about 30 million. The property fees after that can be the expenses of maintaining the mall, any activities held by honor are income, and the advertising signs are income. Mr. Yan, go and see what everyone eats for lunch. When I came in the morning, I saw that the canteen was being renovated. There is a meal supplement at noon, 30 yuan per person. Then you go to the backyard and see if the second young master of our company has eaten. Someone feeds it. Why should I feed a dog raised by Gao Feng? If it's not Han Qian, why do you keep asking me to do it? Low IQ is contagious. Puff. The staff of the general department finally couldn't help it anymore. Yao Shui was the closest and was the first to laugh. Then Yan Qingqing looked at him and quickly put away his smile and worked hard. Han Qian looked at Yan Qingqing and said softly, "The planning I do is profitable no matter how I run it. Even if I put a dog wagging its tail at the door, I won't lose money." Yan Qingqing was furious, gritting her teeth and staring at Han Qian, but Han Qian ignored Yan Qingqing and continued to select brands. Stores in shopping malls are not just for you to rent or buy if you have money, and then start selling. You must first look at the brands you represent. Influence means that when customers enter the mall, they will see a variety of well-known brands, rather than a bunch of manufacturers that cannot be found on Baidu. Don't look at performance, look at fame. A good horse deserves a good saddle. After checking the brand, Han Qian stretched, stood up and spoke to Gao Chuang. "Look at how many of the brands are duplicates. Contact the two customers and ask them if they can represent different products. Some of them may be agents from the main factory, or they may be agents from the province. Let them solve it by themselves. Sister Shui, Ming Feng, you two help Suliang build a model room. Only these brands can use the Huanlang store, and others cannot. Deputy Lu, I want you to help write a store purchase report. Or the agreement on renting a store, I think you can discuss it with Sister Yang." Han Qian stood up and said again, "I'm going out to have a cigarette." After saying that, he turned around to leave. Lu Zhuolong and Yang Lan cooperated tacitly and blocked the door like a flash. Then Yang Lan took a paper cup on the table, took some water and handed it to Han Qian, staring at it with a pair of beautiful eyes. Han Qian said seriously, "If you smoke here, the fine will be mine." Lu Zhuolong said immediately, "Han Qian, please don't go out. Every time you go out, I never see you come back. You can't go out today." The escape plan failed. Han Qian scratched his head and said softly, "I'm going to the toilet." Lu Zhuolong said immediately, "I'll go with you." Han Qian raised his hands and surrendered on the spot. "Okay. Isn't it okay if I don't run away?" After returning to the chair obediently, Yan Qingqing curled her lips, stood up and left the general department. Her departure made the serious atmosphere of the general department disappear. Yao Shui breathed a sigh of relief and lay on the table. Mr. Yan's look just now almost made her let her die on the spot. Han Qian lay on the table and looked at Yao Shui. Sister Shui, what are you afraid of her doing? Yao Shui sighed. You are the only person in the company who is not afraid of Mr. Yan. You don't know that when Yang Ji first came to the company, he would be scolded and cried more than 10 times a day. Mr. Yan's temper was so bad. I'm afraid of a hammer. Little girl, she scolds you, so you beat her. As soon as he finished speaking, Han Qian's head was pressed on the table, and Yan Qingqing gritted her teeth and said angrily. You were talking about me for a long time, but I ignored you. Xiao Hanqian, are your wings stiff? Who is the little girl? Almost everyone in the general department knew that Han Qian and Yan Qingqing had an ambiguous relationship, and Yan Qingqing's chosen confidants were here, so there was no need to hide and pretend to be a lady. Han Qian lay motionless on the table and said nothing. Without saying anything, Yan Qingqing let go of Han Qian with a cold voice, turned around and left with her buttocks twisted. After confirming that Yan Qingqing was gone, Han Qian sat up, patted his shoulder and said calmly. Look, what can she do? She is already impressed by my momentum. Yao Shui nodded, and then she exclaimed with a panicked expression. Mr. Yan. Han Qian hit his head with both hands and got up and ran. Then he heard the laughter of Yao Shui and the others, and Han Qian realized that he had been tricked. The lunch meal came very late, and finally it was delivered by Miss Yalai. This girl came with a cart. Everyone went to the door to greet the angel who delivered the meal in time. Duan Mingfeng raised his head and shouted while holding the meal. Road. It's 2 o'clock, and I finally saw lunch. I used to say that the general department is easy. I was deceived. Fang Shanshan chose a piece of hot dry noodles and sighed softly. You were born in the wrong era, young man. Since Brother Chiener arrived, our wages have increased faster than a thermometer. At the same time, we have been put on saddles and have to work overtime. Han Qian knocked Shan Shan on the forehead with chopsticks and cursed with a smile. It's also a day to fish, and it's also a day to work. Do you know what the other name of the general department is? Everyone looked at Han Qian at the same time, and Han Qian curled his lips and smiled. Glory Group's Huangpu Military Academy. Everyone's faces were full of disgust, and in the end there was only one box of rice bowl left. Han Qian opened the bungalow and had just taken a bite when little Yang Jia hurried over and shouted. Brother Chiener, something happened at the construction site. A worker fell from the 3rd floor. President Yan and Vice President Gao are not in the company. This matter. Don't worry, I'll handle it. Daqian Er, come with me. Qianwan couldn't stand it for a long time. Everyone here was working. She couldn't help even if she wanted to. When she heard Han Qian speak, Daqianer picked up the car keys and walked out the door. Han Qian carried the rice bowl and walked out the door. Let's go. At this time, Yang Lan opened the door and threw a bottle of water to Yang Jia, saying softly. You go and give it to Han Qian. He can't do it without water when he eats. Go quickly. Don't make this matter public for now. We'll talk about it after Han Qian solves it. Yang Lan is very anxious. She is worried that if people die in the mall, then the mall will not need to open. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 442. Han Qian sat in the $4 million car and wolfed down the rice bowl in his hand. The driver, Daqianer, said softly. Brother, do you think there is someone here deliberately causing harm? Han Qian finished the last bite of his rice, put the lunchbox into a plastic bag, opened the water and mumbled. I can't tell, I feel like I can't. Then why are you so anxious? This kind of matter must be handled quickly. Once someone says that honor despises workers being injured and hospitalized, the reputation will drop rapidly. If it is handled well, it will be helpful to honor. Letting you drive there will give the workers a sense of importance. If you don't know the identity, you have to know the car, right? Do you have any money? I don't have much money left. I didn't bring much. My aunt will give me 200,000 yuan this month. There is some cash in the trunk. While talking, the speed of the car was already over 100. Han Qian held a cigarette in his mouth and muttered in a low voice, "Could all this money be put in the trunk? 200,000 yuan a month as pocket money, oh my god. This 200,000 is not even a lot of money spent on the game." The car arrived at the construction site of the airport. The outside of the building was wrapped with protective netting. The entire exterior was completed almost half a month later. Han Qian and Diqianer hurried into the mall and felt the warmth in the mall the moment they entered. This is because the floor heating is on for the progress of the shopping mall. The floor tiles have almost been laid, and now it's time to work on the ceiling. Standing in the circular corridor on the first floor and looking at the people surrounding the square on the first floor, Han Qian frowned. What's the problem with the small tower? Trotting forward with Diqianer, Han Qian roared and pushed away the surrounding workers. He saw blood on the ground, but no injured workers. Han Qian frowned and said solemnly, "Qianwan, go to the hospital now to check the situation, pay the workers' hospitalization fee, and use the best medicine and the best ward." "I see." Diqianer turned around and left. Han Qian frowned and looked at the workers beside him, and said softly, "Don't worry, everyone. The two companies will handle this matter. Where's the supervisor? Tell me the reason for the accident. I'll say it first. If it's the workers who don't wear safety measures, we will only be responsible for the medical expenses. We won't do anything afterwards. There will be financial compensation. I don't believe there is no one here who has a good relationship with this worker. What else can they hide?" The reason why Han Qian said this was because he was worried that the supervisor would put all the responsibility on the workers. "The workers around you said something, and I started to tell the story of the incident. The workers came from all over the country, and when the dialect came out, Han Qian was confused. Finally, the supervisor told Han Qian that the problem was with the tower crane. It's not the tower crane's problem, it's the tower crane workers' problem. When making a suspended ceiling, a piece of wood fell and went up to the fourth floor. As a result, the piece of wood was only tied with one lock. The tower crane started before the second rope was completed, and the piece of wood rotated in the fourth floor corridor. The rope fell off during the movement, and the wooden piece fell, knocking down the worker who was installing the guardrail on the second floor. Han Qian didn't understand this. He pointed at the small tower crane and frowned. "It's just such a thing, it's not 20 meters in total, and you don't even know whether the rope is fastened or not. It's not a high-rise building with dozens of floors. How the hell are you a supervisor? You can't see if it's not locked? I'll tell you later, let Guan Yunbiao come over and deal with you." "Don't. Brother, please calm down. It's really not my fault. There's something wrong with this tower crane operator. He's young. He goes to an internet cafe to stay up all night after work, or goes to a bar to drink. When he came the next day, he looked very energetic. There were a few times. They are all asleep in the tower crane. If it weren't for the fact that we can't find workers now, the company would be urging us to speed up the progress. Go and get me the tower crane." Han Qian is now full of anger. The total is not the worker's fault, nor is work first, but the work of a third party. Not long after, the young man operating the tower crane was brought over. He is not old, but he is in his early years. He has two serious dark circles under his eyes. He seems to be out of energy now. Han Qian looked at the young man who drives the tower crane from top to bottom. He has a sallow complexion and thin skin. The salary of the tower crane is quite high, and it is only a month. It's about 6 to 7,000, and this young man's mental state is definitely not right. Han Qian frowned. Your mistake sent someone to the hospital. How are you going to handle this matter? The young man squinted at Han Qian and said nonchalantly. What should I do with it? What does it have to do with me that they didn't tie the wood up? I'm the one responsible for transporting it. Han Qian turned to look at the worker and frowned. You don't have a walkie-talkie to communicate. The worker holding the walkie-talkie looked aggrieved, picked up the walkie-talkie and shouted, and then sighed. Listen, little boss, the walkie-talkie on his waist is not ringing either. After finishing speaking, the tower crane guy lowered his head and glanced at the intercom, and said lightly. Oh, I didn't charge it last night and turned it off, so. Before he finished speaking, Han Qian raised his leg and put a foot on his chest. His whole body was shaking with anger. This will most likely leave the injured worker with a lifelong disability. You still act like you don't care. Look. What Han Qian hates the most is this kind of irresponsible person. I am like this, do whatever you want. Han Qian will not let him go easily. He took out his mobile phone and called Cai King Hu. Come here, there may be skaters here, take them back for a urine test. After saying this, Han Qian looked at the supervisor sent by Guan Degu and said coldly. If someone runs away, you are responsible. You have to teach me a lesson even if you are young. Don't even think about getting your salary this month. The rest of you can go to work as normal. Today, on the 15th day of the first lunar month, everyone will have 2 meat dishes for dinner. Just don't work overtime. If there are any problems at the construction site in the future, please call me directly. Someone can report to me the work. When will the interior of the mall be completed, not including the model room? It was already 4 o'clock when Han Qian finished his work in the mall. When Han Qian left the mall, Nuan called and asked Han Qian if he was done. Waiting for him to have dinner together, Han Qian covered his head and said feebly. Don't wait for me. Something happened at the construction site. I have to work overtime tonight. You can stay at Mom's place for the night. Nuan held the phone and whispered. Are you hungry? Have you had lunch? I just came out of the mall after eating a bowl of rice. I'm going back to ask people from the company to go to the hospital to compensate the workers. Xianyuan, Tu Xiao was the one who worked on the construction site. Tu Xiao should be the one to compensate for this kind of thing, or should we? Glory compensation. Tu Xiao compensates, what does this have to do with glory? But you Glory should go over and show your respect for the workers, and let Tu Xiao compensate for the rest. What do you want to eat at night? I'll bring it to you. Okay, I have to worry about you when you go out by yourself at night. There should be good people working overtime at night. We can just buy instant noodles then. Instant noodles are so nutritious. When I was injured, you gave me instant noodles every day. Well, I'm going to take a shower, bye. If you can't speak, run away. If you can't run, hit you on the head. If it doesn't work, call your mother-in-law. These are the 3 surefire skills of warmth. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian called Guan Yunbiao. At this moment, Guan Yunbiao was handling the matter and told Han Qian that he would definitely bring the matter to a successful conclusion in a harmonious and friendly manner, but he could not let go of the person who opened the tower crane. Han Qian sat in the car with his eyes closed and sighed. The person has been taken away by Cai King Hu for a urine test. It will be positive as expected. You finish the processing here in the mall as soon as possible, and then prepare to take over the construction site where Chang Xiang and Honor cooperate. Jianwan has returned to the company. Miss Jian has gone back. I'll have someone send her the medical expenses she paid in advance tomorrow. Brother Han, I'll go and do some work first. I'll have a drink if I have time. I'm afraid there won't be a chance in a short time. There will be. The Empress of the East Palace and the Empress of the West Palace have said that they will take my eldest daughter on a spring outing at the beginning of spring. We will go together then. Oh. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian had a headache. Why are these two girls becoming less and less interested in work?